Good morning, good morning. So, just woke up, having a look at the videos that I'm producing for my little gaming diary. I had this idea a few weeks ago. And I started taping like all the games that I play, like just recording me playing the game because I have these games that I think are so great that I kind of want to come back and like keep on like I want to replay them, and like I have a few that I'm producing right now. So right now I'm trying to get the Arkham Knight game finished and into a nice little video list so that I can have that and like rewatch it when I want to. And yeah, so let's see. Yeah, I'm playing Rise, Son of Rome. That's also really fun. I replayed Shadow of Mordor. I'm replaying a few games because right now there's not that many games that like the new games. There are some that are good, but not anything that I'm like particularly interested in. Yeah, and so that's basically what I'm doing. I also thought I'd have a little look at LinkedIn to see what's going on there because, as you may know, I'm looking for a job right now. I'm currently working at Ticketmaster as a front-end developer, and the idea being that I had this, well, let's call it. In essence, I have been working for them for about 2 years now, and in those 2 years, like I'll tell you the story. I started at this smaller company where I was recruited by Ticketmaster and well scouted or whatever you want to call it. I talked to them as they were looking for someone a little bit more senior, but at the time I had only been doing this for like a year. And in essence, I went to them, talked to them, and showed them what I could do, and they seemed to, they liked what I did, and I got the job, which was like, it was pretty cool considering like it's a fairly big company, and they were looking for a specialist in JavaScript, and I mean, being a specialist after a year, it made me feel really good that I had what it took to do that, right? So in essence, what then happens is that I start working, and they have this idea of a career map where they're mapping people to determine what role you should have within the company and your pay grade and like all that stuff. And so basically, what I did was that I was forced into this it was an impossible situation to start off in because I had no idea what the level was. I mean I didn't even know what skill level their other developers were at, and you don't know that when you start at a company. So I thought, well, fuck it, I'm gonna accept the salary that they're giving me because I don't care that, I mean, they started me off at 34,000 Swedish crowns, and my mind was that that's enough money for me to live pretty well on. I don't care so much if I'm making the absolute maximum salary that I can. I don't care. I just want to be really good at what I do. I just want to learn from this experience and know and get the experience of working at a really large product company. Said and done, I start working, and after a few months I kind of I realized that their needs is like they said that they needed a junior, but they didn't need a junior. Like they were looking for a more junior profile, but they weren't. They were looking for someone to completely take control over their front end code base, which was in essence what I was pretty much forced to do. Like the legacy and the problems they were having with the code base was enormous. It was so bad that most of the people working there had absolutely no idea what was going on in the code. Like they couldn't effectively deliver features. So I started off by like doing the inventory. I started looking at the code. I started thinking, okay, what can I do, and so forth. And a few months in, this process of mine to try to refactor all of this legacy and like create new practices for working and like setting up tools and like modernizing basic their entire front end code, right? I get a new colleague. His name is Alan Bargy. Absolutely amazing guy. We became friends, really close friends, very quickly because we're the same type of person. Like we love coding and we love talking about like solving problems and all that good stuff. And so over that time, we basically convert this entire legacy code base, which from like jQuery and their own custom framework, which was just god awful. It was a bad implementation of some ideas that a guy named Nicholas no, I can't remember his name, but I can't. I always forget his name. But he's still a fairly major name in the front end community. He has some really cool ideas around JavaScript and like how you do stuff. And then they had basically taken this idea of a decorator pattern that laid on top of your other frameworks. The problem was that this decorator pattern was lying on top of jQuery, and they had done it so horribly wrong. Like we were talking about, they had roughly 3 or 4 files of 1,000 plus. Some of them were even 2 or 5,000 lines of code in a single object. Like there was no, and they also had a pub subsystem and like a dispatching system built in there. It was just horrendous. Anywho, so we move them over to React. We get them all these new nice tools, and to get back to what I was originally saying, we're in this like I get the idea that now it's time for me to make the case for a promotion, because I want to know if there's any, like I want to see if I can get a promotion because I've never tried to get one, and I also want to know, if the company actually cares. Because I had this sensation, like, and this sensation was really strong. I had this sensation that Ticketmaster doesn't give two shits about how good you are. They don't. The only time they care is when you're getting hired, but they don't care if you actually do a good job. Not at all. And the reason for this is that the people close to you care, but the people who sit on the decisions and like do make all the calls, they're in London and a few pay grades over you. They have no idea what you're doing. They don't care. I kind of got that sense that I just need to deliver. I don't have to do it well. I just have to make things happen, because the main way that they're earning their money is through closing contracts, not shipping good features. And if you've ever used the Ticketmaster websites, you probably if you take a good look at it, you probably get the feeling that this could be a lot nicer. Well, at least that's the way it feels for the people who work there. And trust me, the people who work there are amazing. That's not them that you should be upset with. If you're upset with the ticketing industry, you should be upset with the people who make all the decisions. They are the ones who are forcing this behavior. And in essence, I started making this move for a career change. I'll show you. And this, I think, is, let's see if I can, I'll find the right document. Assessments, competency matrix. No, this is almost right, but it's not the one I was looking for. Let's see here. Technical matrix. Yeah. So this is like this idea of a career mapping. And in essence what you have is this XML document where you have different skills, and you have to meet all of like, if you wanted to be like level 1 in something, like this requirement here, you need to fill this and then this and then this, and it just goes on and on and on up to level 5. And so as you can see, I've been mapped to a few things here, and Then you have an assessment of me. So I was a front-end engineer level 2. And the reason why I felt that maybe I should be higher was because yeah, here we are. This is the one that's probably the easiest to digest. So the orange means this is stuff I've already done, and the yellow means this is me thinking like this is my case. Like I had to say that okay, I looked at this level skill or whatever it is, looked at the requirements, said yes or no, I think I fulfill this, and then I had to get one or two different people from my office to sign off on that fact. I mean, the workload in proving that I was at a certain like at this level over here was just enormous. It was enormous. Like it took 16 full hours to just fill out all this information and get to talk to people who could like verify it. And the argument I had, and in my defense, because like I'm not saying that I'm the best coder in the world, I'm absolutely not. But I was looking through this, and when they released this idea, I said it from the start. Soon as you put a number on this, and you start talking about these some of these things are fairly unrelated. I'll show you a few examples of. Let's take a look at, I don't know, let's take CSS here. Alright, so for me to get to the next level, can demonstrate an understanding of multiple CSS methodologies that can articulate the importance CSS organization in enterprise projects, BEM, SMAX, object-oriented CSS, can implement suitable CSS tooling, and can compile Sass and run the auto prefixer. Now you might wonder, this feels fairly standard. Why are you down here? And I kind of go, well, it's actually very easy because my original boss had absolutely no idea what I could do. He had no idea. He didn't even know what the project was about. He had no idea about anything. So what like he basically put me here, even though I was here from the first day. I was there immediately. So I'm put in this really weird situation where I have to now prove all these things, and in essence let's just say that there was a fair bit of political pushback, because the way things were going, as you can see, like I was filling out, you don't have to have everything, I'll not bore you with all the details, but in essence I was here and I made a push to be over here, which is these two are just fantasy levels in my opinion. Like I looked at the specifics, and you cannot achieve these. It's not possible, because we're talking about like level 7. Then some of the descriptions are that you are like the company leading person or the world leading expert in a given field. It's just ridiculous that these even exist. But this one is the highest in my opinion. This is where my boss is, and you can imagine how he felt when I said, hey, I've been working for this company for about 2 years now. You've been working for 4 or 6 or whatever, and I want to be at your level. That didn't go over all that well. I'm gonna be honest, and I felt that pushback like really, really hard. The problem they had was that since they put everything on paper, they had to play ball. They had to like actually look at things because they had a framework. And since I told them like this is very interpretable, people can say what they want, and you have to like I even sat down and proved it in a meeting. I called everybody into a meeting and said, let's walk through this, because I can prove that even the QAs are the people who are non-developers in this room fill these requirements if you just tweak the sentences a little bit. And I did. And the worst part was that they acknowledged that this was a problem, and not from me, of course, but from some expert they were trying to hire who actually quit and didn't take the job because this was so poorly designed. And so they decided, let's make another one. Problem was that it wasn't finished. Nobody really took it seriously. And then I come along and I become this person who's trying to do this, and they force me to go through this process here because they haven't finished the actual career mapping. Enough about that. So in essence, tell them that, I'm going to quit if you don't like help me, like make me feel like at least that I can get to. I mean, I couldn't even get a meeting booked. I couldn't like get them for the life of me to. My boss, his response to I want to know like if I can get a salary raise or like a position, a high position, was, oh, let me walk you through a 360 review and get to talk to all your like everybody around you to make sure that everything's fine, and like even though you filled out all this information, because I did my part 100%. Oh, it's not going to be enough because we need to do all these other things, and I like, okay, how long is that going to take? Oh, we don't know. You're right, now I can't give you an answer. And after 4 months, 4 months of me every single week, I came over to him, asked, "Where's the like? How are things going?" And most often he just said, "Oh, I've been working on it a little bit." Like it was very clear that there was no real incentive to make this happen. I just had enough and said, "All right, you know what? I'm gonna look for another job." And if I'm gonna stay on. I'm like I'm not you. You're gonna get like 10% of my total investment in this company, like out of me from you. I'm gonna do the work, but you're not. I'm not gonna do all the extra stuff I've been doing so far, which entails like everything from going to meetups to present the company's direction and like refactor large sizes of the code base, introducing new standards, like all this stuff, the migration. I mean, I didn't have to do any of this. I could have just sat there and done the bare minimum of what they asked for of me. I didn't, because I love what I do. I really love what I do. And I was very disappointed. I'm gonna be honest. I was hard. Like I felt like this was it was the greatest. I don't even know what to call it. It's like it was so obvious that they don't care, like not at all. And what happens then, which is fairly interesting, I was actually contacted by a few recruiters that asked me if if my job was secure now that Ticketmaster was doing some restructuring, and I didn't know at the time what that meant. But then our chief, like the boss, comes in, was unannounced, and basically lays everybody off. This was after I started looking for a new job, but still. And I kind of like I saw this coming, but they discontinued. They fired everybody in the entire office, and they're not. It's happening right now. I'm gonna go and have a look at see when everything's falling, when everything's going down this Monday. And in essence, the the idea was that we train this new team down in Belgrade, some really nice people there, but I kind of had the feeling like if they're not put, like they want to expand, like they said that they wanted to move faster, so they're going to add another team to the product I'm working on, and then they say, well, we don't want to do it in Sweden, we want to do it in Belgrade. I'm like, oh, you're going to fire everybody. Oh, you're going to fire everybody. Oh, you are so much, because trust me, there's a lot of problems working remotely when you're doing development work. If you're looking to become a developer, try for the love of God, especially if you're a new developer, don't do remote work if you can avoid it. Unless you really thrive doing that, don't do it, because there's so much that you're gonna miss. You're gonna miss having talks with your colleagues and like learning, and you're simply even if you are a team member, you are not going to feel like you're not going to feel like a team member often anyway. So that's my argument. And so in essence, you get into this position where I kind of knew that this was gonna happen. I didn't know when, because it felt fairly early, but it happened. So what I did was that my first reaction was I went home the same day. I started immediately, and let's see. Okay, sorry, I got a little bit distracted there. You should, like, right now, as you can imagine, I'm looking for a job, and I'm trying to kind of figure out enthusiastic high school teacher. Yeah, cool. And just find somewhere to be. I have a few interviews coming up next week. I have talked to a few people. Yeah, and so this is my LinkedIn profile. I'm actually working on a series where I'm going to talk a little bit about, my experiences with finding a job as a developer, and some stuff about like what's good to think about, the things that you have to kind of consider. You have to consider some stuff in the way that, like, your role as like soft skills, that type of stuff. Why am I talking when I can show you instead? let's see here, and Google Drive, documents, yes, here it is. So this is my little spreadsheet that I use for just like all of these are links to different folders on my Google Drive, so I can like just see where these courses are and the videos are. Or then I've done these like JavaScript courses, Node.js, HTML. I'm working right now on finishing the CSS course. And here comes the next stuff that's up. So how to become a developer, this is the one I'm talking about, where I'll walk you through like making a CV, how to behave in interviews, your first week, and this is of course it's very subjective, it's from my personal experience, but I want to say, even though I haven't been doing this for a very long time, I've been doing fairly well. Like people like I get a lot of positive, like I've never been turned down for a position like interview wise, and my CV has, I've been told by many like recruiters and companies that they really like it, and like they're very impressed, and like it's not often that I apply for a job and I don't get a call back. Usually they will like it. It's not like I used to work as a mover before I started coding. Like I had no experience and nothing like that, and I'm sure that few you may know that how hard it is to even get people to get back to you. Like finding a job when you're not a specialist or like in a highly sought after profession, it's very difficult. But I don't have this problem, so I thought maybe I'm doing something right. Maybe I can, help some people figure out where to start. And then I have these others like Linker. You may have noticed that I have a fair amount of connections. Let's see, where was I? Yeah, I was, yeah, here. This is not the largest number I've ever seen, but it's fairly large. And the thing with that is that I actually haven't. I'm not as very like I'm not a social media type of person. I'm not at all. So what I did was that I created a bot, or like an automated system which did all of this for me. Like all these connections come directly from that system. It was completely automated. I just started it up on my laptop, let it run for a few months, and that's like all these connections. That's the result. It just took care of it for me, and I'm making a video series explaining how I did that, and the mindset that it was basically just a big experiment. I argued to my colleagues that if I could just get this number big enough, like a few thousand connections, if I could get that, it would start happening by itself. And it's actually happening by itself now. I don't have to connect with people anymore. I don't have to send connection requests. They just automatically connect because the network is getting so big. And then a bonus with that is when I'm looking for a job, of course, that it becomes much easier to get some exposure. And then I have these things here like project setup course. I'll talk you about the stuff that you should think about when you're starting a greenfield project, designing and like Lego programming, Git tags, commit hooks, linters, all that good stuff. And then finally I have this thing that you'll see happening while going forward. I'm adding more content to it. It's basically me looking at Stack Overflow questions and solving them, or trying to solve them, and talking a little bit about my process and like how I think about the problems. But anywho, just looking at, I'm trying to keep up as much up to date with LinkedIn as much as possible. I recommend that you do the same. So just having a basic network is fairly important. Like, yeah, this is what's happening in recent time for me, and it's actually, I find it's actually funny. Was the first comment I sent. So hi, it's time for me to leave Ticketmaster, so if there's anyone out there who wants to have a talk with a front-end developer with 3+ years of experience, more than a little passion for programming, send me a message and let's have a chat. And now this is where I proved that my experiment was valuable, because right now, imagine like most of my colleagues are looking at the application, like job applications, that they're searching for opportunities. Like even like they are good at what they do, and the demand for computer programmers is immense. But the problem is that they have no way of connecting with all these people who have the jobs. I do. You can see that I have had 36,000 views on this little message here, and like I've had over 150, 200 direct messages about job opportunities and interviews, and that was in the first 24 hours. All these comments, all this interest, it all came from this little message that I made, and it has more. This is more views than I've ever gotten on anything else, and it's all from this number. Because remember, I have about 7,000 first connections on LinkedIn, that represents maybe maybe tens of thousands, even if you go really large, potentially hundreds of thousands of people that I'm connected to that can find me. So that number is very important, especially when you're looking for a job. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now, and yeah, there's not really much to it. I hope you have a great day.